I want to help give you something to get you out of the feeling of overwhelm. And to get out of overwhelm, you simply need to recognize overwhelm for what it is. Overwhelm is just stress. And when you feel overwhelmed, the reason why is because your brain is in stress. And as soon as you experience stress, your brain immediately loses blood from the prefrontal cortex, which is the most highly evolved part of the brain. It's the part of the brain where all of your brain processing, all of your executive centers, all of your highest functioning takes place in the prefrontal cortex. As soon as you start losing blood from that area of the brain, there's less brain activity there, and there's more brain activity back in your brainstem, which is where you're making survival-based decisions. You're simply making life or death-based decisions, and you're simply less intelligent. So when you experience stress, when the brain is in stress, you have less brain processing capacity available to you. You are literally, in the appearance, you are apparently less intelligent than when you are in a state of peace, because your brain is simply not processing the same amount of information anywhere near as quickly or as well as it ordinarily would. And then what that feels like to you is that you have less time available because the brain is processing less efficiently. The brain's processing more slowly. So it feels like it takes more time for you to process the same amount of information. So then you feel overwhelmed because it feels like you don't have enough time, and it feels like you don't have enough options because the brain cannot process that same amount of information that it ordinarily would do when it's in its highest functioning state, which is when you're experiencing peace. So if you simply recognize what is happening, if you see overwhelm truly and you recognize that in that moment you are less capable of solving your own problems because your brain is processing more slowly, it's processing less efficiently, you are not in your highest state of function. If you recognize that, then you tend to stop beating your head against a brick wall trying to solve the problems when you're in a state that's less capable. And you stop listening to all of the thoughts that tell you that you're in overwhelm and tell you that you can't do it and tell you all the worst case scenarios, because you simply recognize that your brain is working from survival. Your brain is literally making survival-based decisions, life and death-based decisions coming from back in that brainstem. What you're going to do is get out and go for a walk. Go for a walk in a natural environment, ideally. If you know how to change your belief system and you can walk through an urban environment or an artificial environment and see that as beneficial to you, you can know in your unconscious mind that that is still serving you and is beneficial, that will be fine. But if you haven't done any of that work, then simply going and walking in a natural environment where inherently built into the belief system of humanity, the natural environment is seen and known and recognized in that belief system as being beneficial to you. By walking through that environment and dilating your vision, scanning out and scanning your periphery as you walk through that environment, and simply being aware of all of the sensory stimuli as you move through that environment, you turn down the amygdala, you turn down threat, that you change the way the brain is actually functioning. What you're going to do while you move through that environment, you're turning down that amygdala activation, is you're going to just consider that somehow you are in oneness with everything that you see. Somehow everything is one. Somehow you are that tree, you are that fern, you are that plant, you are the branch, you are the sky, you are the ground. Somehow see yourself in oneness. Have an awareness of that. Oneness cannot oppose itself. It means in that belief, there's nothing that can oppose you, there's nothing against you, there's nothing working against you, and you're safe. And then you'll find that the brain comes out of stress, you'll find that you become peaceful, you recover brain processing capacity, and as you do that, more options become available to you. The situation that you're in life may not change specifically, however, if you see it differently, you see it from a higher level of processing, instantly you're going to recognize that you've got more options available to you and you'll continue to feel more calm. So make use of that. The first step is recognizing what overwhelm is. It's nothing more than a stress response. Understand you don't have the brain processing capacity available to make it worthwhile trying to solve all your problems while you're in that state. So go and do something about it. Walk through a natural environment. Take note of everything that's happening in your periphery. Move through that environment as you notice everything that's happening in your peripheral vision. Dial down the activation of the amygdala, and then have an awareness of yourself in oneness with everything. Notice the peace that you feel, then you can get back to solving your problems. And if you want to take it a step further than that so that you don't experience stress in the first place, then the true step is to go and transform your perception such that you perceive truly, because healed perception is peaceful perception. And when you perceive the world as peaceful, you no longer have the stress response. That's something that you need to learn, and you learn that by doing it, you learn that by accepting it. If you need help with that, reach out with a DM.